The next thing we come to is two of the simpler graphs that we've got to look at, dot plots and stem and leaf graphs. Now these are both things you guys will have seen before, but we're going to go over them again in this topic. So, for some reason my cursor is very small and almost invisible in here at the moment. But the first one is a dot plot, and I'll just scroll down a tiny bit if I can get that to work. Oh, that is being very fiddly. A dot plot is just basically a number line that we've stuck dots above. So if we go in here, let's see if I can get this to work. Well, the lowest number is 5, so we might start our graph here with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And so then all we're going to do is cross these off. I tend to find the best thing is to underline them instead. And on the first dot above 5, we're going to, or first grid kind of line, we're going to put a dot for 5, a dot for 11. If I haven't lost where my cursor is again, there it is. 11, I need a 7 and 2 8s. I think I can do them 3 at a time potentially, 7 and then an 8 and an 8. And the second 8 just goes above. Make sure again you're sticking onto some sort of grid or other marking. If you've got a regular line book, I would probably draw a dot kind of halfway between the lines and then on the next line and then halfway between the lines. You need to make sure you're making it easy to look at later and make sure they're the same height. So we've got 2 6s and another 8. This is our third 8. That's getting very high. We've got 2 6s floating in here. We've got 5 and a 9, so another 1 for 5. Our first 9 shows up, an 8 and a 6. Now I know it might be tempting to just go, well, look at this. I'll just draw an open dot on the 8 and on the 6, but actually in maths an open dot means kind of a lack of a value, whereas a coloured in dot means there is a value here, so we need to make sure we colour it in. So there is our dot plot for this data, which we're going to look at in a future lesson, looking at this to help us describe shape and spread and a few different things. So that's what we want to look at there. Now, the second kind of graph you guys will have seen before. I actually haven't given you any questions here. It's just here is a completed stem and leaf graph. But what I want us to just kind of realize is that these numbers down the left here are the part we call the stem. And what these mean really are what is the tens position. So these are all the scores that are in the 40s. These are all the scores in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and in this case the 100 up to 109, because 110 would be another value with a 1, 1 and then something else. So what do each of these numbers represent? Well, this 8 here represents 70 plus 8, or 78. So that's what's going on here with the 7 and the 8. Now, a gap entirely means there were no scores in the 60s at all. And when we do this, we've got to make sure we have all the appropriate tens. So the other part of our graph, this stuff over here, are called the leaves. And these are the kind of units or ones position. So 43, 45, 56, 56 again, 57, and so on. And again, this is a nice easy graph to be able to describe the shape. That should leave you guys ready to have a go at exercise 4F. Just the first couple of questions, 1, 2, 3, lots of definitions, and I think maybe 1 drawing a graph, and 5 and 6 having a look at some stem and leaf graphs, if I remember them in the right order.